is.
Station 21.
Yeah, but where is he?
Connecting. Earl connected. Earl, can you hear me? Check, check, check. Mike, check. Earl. Hey, Earl, you hear me? Yo, you hear me? Earl.
Call him right there.
No.
Okay.
Hello.
Hey, what's up, Earl?
Hey, what's happening?
How are you? You can't hear me, right?
But hold on just 1 second.
Okay.
All right, I think that's better. There we go. Right. Let me switch over to here real quick. Let me see. Let me do this here. Okay, see here. Let me bounce over here. Yep. All right. All right, let's see if I can get that up a little bit more. Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, there we are.
Man, this whole. How you been, Earl?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm just surviving, trying to not go crazy in COVID-19 days. It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
It's crazy. How safe is it out there for you guys?
Our numbers are back up quite a bit. the schools have decided. Well, a lot of the schools here have decided to go ahead and um, start the school remote, and not trying to get the kids in the building. Um, though there's one of our districts that has decided they want to try to do it in person, and they've just lost their choral conductor because he's like, I'm not putting my so it's so he's like, I can't um I can't put myself in that kind of situation. So he pulled out, but and I understand that, but yes, it's a nuts it's a tough time. Hmm. Yep. I graduated '02. Masters with Cert '02. Yeah, you just Oh yeah, I remember when so Sinclair's first year was my second year of my master's program. No, I did my bachelor's at Columbia College. There's there's some stuff going on. I know that I know there's been some talk because Vandercook is in really dire straits right now. Really, really bad. And it would be smart for Columbia. It would behoove both parties because that would finally give Columbia a music education program to have, and it would allow Vandercook to keep breathing because they're just about dead. You know. So yeah, I was a performance major, and so then somebody told me because I was looking to get certified, and they were like, "Well, hey, check out Vandercook because you can do the certification program." And I was like, "Okay, well, hey, knock it out." So I loved it. Yeah, Sinclair was his first year was my second year there. I remember that distinctly. Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
We take um just vocal methods and all that good stuff and choir. So I mean, I know where to go, and I know kind of just kind of look into. But I just kind of needed that refreshment, and I kind of need some guidance. I've always wanted to take vocal lessons and stuff. Just because I love music and stuff, and I just kind of want to keep it up to date and stuff. But yeah, man, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for making some time, and hopefully we can do this every week, and you can be my coach, man. I'm excited, Earl.
I love. I always say that what I do, I'm like Sean T for your voice, except I don't have his body. Um, is singers are athletes,
Correct.
and the best singers train like they're Olympians. There's a reason why Beyonce can do kind of whatever she wants to do with her voice because
Right.
she has trained almost like she's an Olympian. And the more that we understand what's really happening in our body when we're singing, the better off we are, the more control we have, and the less likely we are to injure ourselves.
Earl,
Yep.
that's one of my
You know,
main things. That's one of my main things. I want to do it right. I want to do it healthy, because I mean, with my band and stuff, we gig, but we do like 8 to 10 sets a weekend, and it's rough. You know, I mean, I don't know if I'm pretty sure you've gigged, and it's rough. It's some rough stuff. So honestly, Earl, I'm a smoker. Something that I'm gonna slow down. And I know it's gonna affect me. Sooner or later, I'm gonna have to stop. I'm gonna have to stop smoking and just, like you said, train like like an athlete, because it is about being healthy, and that's something I really want to focus on, and I want you to pinpoint and correct me as much as possible, Earl.
cool. Because one of the things, and I'll have to see if I can find. I normally have this vocal health checklist, and I don't know where I put them. Got to see, in this whole COVID time, everything's all over the place. Because it's sometimes the little things that we don't think about that are taking our voice down. Sometimes it's about, how much water or how little water are we drinking. Sometimes it's about, are we sleeping enough so the vocal folds can, repair at night. Are we taking care of allergies or sinus issues? Do we have acid reflux like I do? So all these things play a part in the health of our voice.
I bet.
And the more that we understand, oh, that's what's going on, we're less likely to put ourselves in the place we're going to get into. So with that, let me ask this question. So how long do your sets tend to go?
We usually do. It's normally a set is about an hour. It's an hour.
Okay.
But like at privates and stuff, like private gigs, we'll do 3-4 hours, which we'll take a break. Let's say we do 3 hours. It's a 3 hour contract. We'll do an hour and 15. Take a 20-minute, 30-minute break, and then do another hour and 15 or so. So yeah, it's
Okay.
it's around, and I mean it's either, usually we'll do a private, a 3 hour, 4 hour private, and then we'll hit 2-3 sets after that at
Okay. Oh,
3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah.
Sounds like the old Prince days.
Yep.
Okay. So one of the things we'll definitely talk about is one of the biggest things that a lot of people come in wanting to know is, okay, what is a good routine to warm up to? And then there's the issue of what a lot of people don't think about is the cool down. The
Right.
same way that a runner is not going to just run and then sit. They're not
Right.
going to do it. They're going to be very sore if they do. Well, we as singers need to get in the habit of making sure that we don't finish a bunch of singing and then go, oh, I'm done. Then we have to deal with not necessarily soreness, but if you notice, some hoarseness,
Right.
if we're doing that consistently. So it's very important when I talk about warming up and cooling down, because they're both two sides of the same coin.
I
It's
agree.
about maintenance.
I agree. I was a tuba major at Vandercook, and brass horns, we have to cool down. Just that we gotta warm up, we jam, and then we gotta cool down. And I would do it, and you know what, Earl? It was the best feeling ever. Do some low notes, and after a couple minutes, it was great. And I'm cool with that. I'm totally up for that. For that cool down. You're right. I mean, and how would you cool down for as far as like singing?
The way I do it, since normally our warm up is going to take us from, we're going to start in our low range, then when it comes to cool down, I actually like to start the other direction. I like to start in head voice and then work back down to chest voice, because our goal is to get your voice back to kind of its normal speech state when we're kind of wrapping up the whole singing activity.
Okay.
So little slides are great, So if you've been singing hard all night or whatever, something like an ooh is fantastic. Ooh. Or little small scales on ooh, like a ooh, ooh. Or lip trills, or anything that's semi-occluded, which is something I'm going to talk a lot about, is why semi-occluded sounds are so great, both to warm the voice up, to cool the voice down, and let's say you're in the middle of a long night of gigging. Well, one thing you can do to reset during your break. I don't know if you've been become like the big thing.
No.
Um, it's and so that's one thing. Well, I'll talk about is I'll have you to order from Amazon a really cheap set of like silicone straws
Okay.
because they are a great way to reset the voice if it gets fatigued.
Oh shit.
And um, I tell any of my I say get yourself a straw between periods during your lunch period during your prep period. What it does, it resets everything. There's this back pressure that the vocal folds love because it takes a lot of the muscular effort out of the closing of the folds and kind of sucks them together. It's
Okay.
almost like they're getting a massage. So if
Okay.
you're in the middle of singing for 2 hours, you got another several hours of singing left. What you're going to want to do in the middle of that is to do some straw phonation. But all
Okay.
is not lost if you don't have a straw, because I'm also going to show you an exercise that you can do without the straw that gives you the very same benefit.
Okay.
So here's where I want to start. Um, so the first thing I do with the new student is to have them do a diagnostic scale. It's
Okay.
all it's just fancy to say you're going to sing ah.
Okay.
And I'm gonna start you here. When you were in choir, were you singing tenor or bass?
Tenor one.
Okay, all right. So I'm gonna start you down around an A. Just simply
Oh. 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 Oh.
couple more.
Oh. Oh.
Good.
Oh.
All right, one.
One more. Oh. Oh shit. Give me that tone again. What was it? Oh.
All right, good. So that tells me everything I need to know. All right, so the
Okay.
first exercise. Um, so again, semi-occluded vocal tract exercises. I don't know why I'm talking to the mic because I'm not used to the system. I'm so used to. I've been teaching online somewhat since 2013, but never it's been like the whole day. So I'm still getting used to having to, be at the mic all
Yeah.
the time. Um, Semi-occluded vocal tract exercises are, I won't say a magic elixir. It's just that science has shown us, man, that's a really efficient way to get your voice off and running. I always hated when a voice teacher wanted to start warming a person up with an ah. Ah is the most open valve there is. You got more chance for things to go off the rails with an ah than anything
Ah.
else. We want to do something that's going to get you success right from the moment you start making sound. And semi-occluded vocal tract exercises do that. So there are three things that they do that are so important. One, they're going to reduce how much air we send up. Because one of the biggest sins we commit as singers is using way too much air.
Okay.
The problem with that will be One is that this entire area is going to, because it thinks it's protecting the vocal folds. They're like, we'll be your hero. Well, then all they do is mess things up.
Okay.
So one, if we use less air, there's less likelihood of pulling all these muscles into recruitment. Number two, there is this back pressure that's created somewhere from the lips or the tongue that go back to the vocal folds. And again, it's almost like it's massaging them. So now they're able to vibrate with much less ease, with much more ease and less muscular effort. Well, that's more efficient singing then.
Right. Okay.
Number three, it relaxes the walls of the throat so that if there was any tensing of the throat wall, now it kind of encourages to relax back down. So the benefit is we're able to get through our range very easily, very quickly, and we're less likely to, again, recruit wrong muscles. And I'm going to add this part in. You feel support much more naturally. Now, I am not a teacher who talks about support all day.
Okay.
Because if we do the right exercises, the support kicks in, and we go, oh, that's what it feels like. I hate the phrase "sing from the diaphragm." I hate it with all of my being because science keeps saying that's not the most accurate way to say it. Because your diaphragm is a lazy bum.
Okay.
Its job is to get the air in, so it starts out like a dome, flattens out to the lungs to fill up, and then it kind of sits there. It's like, what now? And it's waiting for somebody else to do something. So truly the real support muscles are your abdominal muscles, your rib muscles, because the diaphragm is basically just moving along kind of, it's a passenger when we start to make sound.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to kind of go, okay, what makes the body do it? And then go, okay, feel that? Okay, that's support. Bam. Well, these exercises, especially the first one I'm going to teach you, kind of gets that going. So the first thing we do is the puffy O. Now, as a tuba player, this is going to come very naturally to you. You're basically going to blow towards your lips and allow all of this stuff to puff out. It's almost like you're saying an ooh underneath it, even though it's technically O. There you go. Yep. So that's creating that back pressure that goes back this direction, allows the vocal folds to close much more easily, and you're only using a tiny bit of air because science has also shown it doesn't take a ton of air to sing really, really well. Even if I'm singing something that's really big, I'm not using a ton of air to make that sound, or else my voice would be tired by the time I'm teaching every day. So with this little thing here, here's what you're going to do. You're just going to slide. Good.
Can't go as high as you.
And one day you shall. As high as I can get, I have a lot of boys who can, my male students can sing higher than I can. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to take your thumb, because you want to watch for one thing when we do this one. The tongue is one of the strongest group of muscles in the entire body. It's like number 7. And we go, but how could that be? It's only a certain size. The problem is it's more than one muscle. It's several of them working together, and they're evil little lot of beings. And so if they feel too much air come up, they're going to gird, thinking they're protecting your larynx. We don't want them to do that. So we're going to monitor it with our tongue to make sure we don't feel a push down against our thumb from our tongue. Good, good. Again.
So wait, so then we don't want the tongue to come out? Pretty much come out, or? Oh, I feel it a little bit.
Yeah. Because that's the base of the tongue that we feel right there. And what it does, it fits right on top of the larynx. And
Okay.
if it constricts too much, that's all this extra pressure now that's sitting upon your vocal folds. So now they're going to have a harder time to vibrate, which means that other muscles on the outside go, oh, let us help. We don't want their help. So
Okay.
this kind of isolates those muscles. And it takes a little time before these completely rest. I mean, I had really bad tongue tension, so it took me a longer time to get them under control. But this exercise I find helps people start to get it to dissipate even quicker, so it doesn't take quite as long. So now we're going to do a siren. So now we're going to repeatedly, of course, be moved back and forth really quickly. And this is a test to see that there's no extra muscle on the outside grabbing.
Oh shoot. Oh.
Good, 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 good. And so, again, because you're using so little air, your vocal folds don't have to compete with anything else. So they're able to do their job much more easily. So let's go back down here. Let's start with A flat. I'm just going to do an octave arpeggio. Good. And make sure once you get toward the end of the scale that you don't lose the puff. There you go. Now, that's up to E flat above the male high C. Now, when we get up that high, one of the things we want to think is rubber bands. Simply the vocal folds are behaving like rubber bands. They're going to lengthen, thin out, which means they can vibrate faster. The problem is, for most of us, when we think high notes, we think, they're up here somewhere. When technically, they're here. Just like a guitar or a piano. But that takes a lot of unthinking because for some reason in our heads we think, I got to get up to the note. So here's what you're going to do. We're going to do a couple of those again. And what you're going to do is you're going to start thinking this direction instead of thinking this direction. So here, thinking that the note is moving away from you. Now our job over time is how do we use less air when you get up there? And so we'll visit some ideas about that in a little bit. Okay, so now, speaking of the tongue, it is my opinion that there should always be some kind of tongue stretch in your warm-up. Now, later, I'm going to show you some actual tongue stretches you can do before you even start doing any of the vocal part of the warm-up, just the physical part, because that's another important part of warming up. I'll get to that in a little bit. But I like to combine a tongue stretch with something semi-occluded. So the first exercise I showed you was semi-occluded because the lips are closed. Well, a hum does the same thing. But we can slip the tongue in between the lips and then have both a tongue stretch and a semi-occluded exercise at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just going to do
Mm.
Good, good, good.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Good. Great. So So now, flat staccato.
Am I sticking my tongue out too much?
Nope, that's actually really good. Because it's funny, most people have the opposite issue. They don't want to let it come out far enough. You far as you want.
Oh, okay, okay.
Good. That was the male high C. And the tricky thing is to remember that we don't necessarily need more pressure on the top note. In fact, because the folds are getting thinner and they're lengthening, there's less mass to vibrate. So actually, we don't need more air. The air just moves faster.
Right.
This is something that horn players and wind people go, oh,
Yep,
I
yep,
got
yep.
it. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Just when you get to that D, almost like you're tapping on it.
I get it.
Right? So that's the E. So part of the job is that these exercises will remind your body, oh, don't work so hard. Let it be really light, very crisp. Almost F sharp, not quite, but whatever.
Gato madre.
Now, huh?
No, I was like, what the? That's high.
It was so funny. Speaking of Dr. Sinclair, so when I was in grad school, I was working on being a countertenor. I had, originally I was trained as a bass baritone, which is, comes after years of singing in the black church and thinking I was just a really bad tenor. Well, kind of find out I wasn't a tenor after all, anyway. So I was working on being a countertenor because I always liked singing really high or whatever. And so I'd be singing somewhere, oh, and Sinclair would go, Earl, you're not a soprano.
For real. I remember
But then
that.
the girls would say, Earl, you make me sick because some of those notes you do easier than we do. It's like, what can I tell you? I worked really hard for that. And I'm a Prince fan. I'm a musician because of Prince. So
Oh,
the high
nice.
range thing was always my thing. Because it's Prince's fault that I do this.
Yeah.
All right, so we want to do one more semi-occluded one. But first, what I want to talk about a little bit is, okay, we talk about the break. And I don't really like that term because I think that's just a mind fuck. So I like the Italian term, they would say passaggio, or I just say bridge. It's important for us to know kind of where our bridges are in our voice because we know where to prepare for our spot, our transition, so we don't freak out about it, but we know where it is. So we start getting used to what does the body naturally want to do when you get there.
Okay.
Now, as a tenor, what I've noticed is sometimes the tenors don't have the biggest issue with the first bridge, which is right at the E. Right above. A lot of tenors kind of sail through there. Baritones, we tend to have a harder time because our chords are thicker. And then we sometimes have an easier time at the second bridge, which is now that bridge has always been easier for me because I'm a bigger voice and a lower voice. But a lot of first tenors seem to have a bigger at that bridge. All of us have the same issue when we get to the third bridge. That's the E flat above the tenor high C. So there is going to be an issue for probably most of us because we have to balance out how much work do I want to do up there. If you think about a heavy metal singer, people assume that they're screaming at the top of their lungs. Actually, the good heavy metal singers are not. They are essentially using the cry of a baby for all intents and purposes. And that's what we're going to work on next. We call it the pharyngeal voice. And all it is really like this bratty, ugly sound. My niece is 8 months old, and she can just go and go and go, and she can do it forever, and she's not going to hurt herself. Yeah. Because the thing about pharyngeal voice is it highlights some of those upper frequencies of our pitches so that we don't have to work so hard to make them. Yeah. Is in essence what it's doing. So if you think of I was demonstrating like Queen of the Reich from Queen Reich's first album. Queen of the Reich! And people would, when I used to do that, people go, shouldn't that hurt? Like, no, I'm not doing anything. Like, okay. Because all I'm doing is doing that little baby cry. And what that can do, that can help us bump up the power of our higher notes and the notes in our middle voice without so much effort. So we can do them over and over and over again, and we have to do them for hours. So we're gonna come back over here, the C below the middle C. Now all you're gonna do is use this nasty nay 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 sound. Nay nay nay. Just very ugly, very simple. The thing is, we don't even have to worry about trying to be super loud in order for it to be very effective. So we're not gonna go anything louder than mezzo forte at the very most.
Okay. Ning, 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 ning.
You're gonna keep it that.
Ning, 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 ning. 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 Ning, 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 ning.
Now, that was pretty good. That's the C sharp right above the male high C. Now, the thing that we do want to watch for is that we don't feel like we are pulling up for it. Now, the larynx does have to raise a little bit for this pharyngeal sound, and that in and of itself is not necessarily bad. We just want to make sure that if the larynx does raise, we are not trying to bombard the larynx with so much air from here.
You see me doing that?
Yep.
Yeah, I
My
do that.
younger students joke and always say Earl sees and hears all.
Yeah, of course.
So the thing that I had to watch for when I first started doing these exercises too, because again, I was used to just I was a chest puller, the king of the chest pullers. Anytime I had to sing anything above a D, above a C, it was like, ah! It was just really treacherous. And so when these exercises were first introduced to me, I was like, there's no way that's going to work. There's no way that's going to work. And doggone it, it works. Because not only did it help me to be able to take some of the weight off, so if I was doing something like, so as a bass baritone, my bridge where I switch is right above middle C. So anything else above that, well, that's what I would term middle voice with a mix. Well, that's my danger territory. And if I use too much air, I'm going to probably overdo. I'm either going to flip to falsetto or I'm going to yell it. So I want to be able to do something like, then that's where I start to switch. Now, when I first started studying this particular technique, my teacher did say that my voice was schizophrenic because there were three different things coming out of me. There was this one very dark bassy thing, and then there was this really bright tenorary kind of thing, and then it was this other thing on top. So the goal, even though this exercise sounds ridiculous, the goal eventually is that it will actually make your voice even more even from top to bottom. Now, in really great singing, our larynx is going to be somewhere in the middle. Classical music teaches the larynx has to always be low. No. Well, there are acoustical situations there because a classical singer is not going to have a mic to use, so they've got to have a certain kind of ping in order to work in an opera hall. We don't
Mm-hmm.
have to worry about that.
Right.
Now, we still want to be as acoustically effective as we can sending our signal into a mic, but it's going to be a different emphasis of resonance.
Mm-hmm.
So, in order to find that though, a super low larynx won't necessarily cut it. If I'm going to do raspberry beret, she wore a raspberry beret, I'd sound like a complete moron, as I should. Prince would never sing it that low because that's not what you need for that kind of sound. So we want to think more of a stable larynx, not a low larynx so much, because there are certain sounds you need where your larynx will need to go up somewhat. A Broadway belter, they can't really belt if their larynx is too low. They're going to lose some of the you're going to lose some of the ping that you need to get that kind of sound with that kind of passion and emotion. So we want to let it to be free to either move up or down. Now, we want it to stay toward the middle as much as possible. So this particular exercise is going to work on trying to keep it really, really stable. So let's say we use mum. Is a great vowel because is going to keep your larynx from raising too much. It's a very middle, sort of dumb vowel. M's are great because they warm up your sound and give you more resonance.
Mum 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 mum. 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 Mum 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 mum.
Good.
Mum 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 mum.
Mhm.
Mum 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 mum. Mum 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 mum.
Good. So that was a G. So not bad. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna add a little bit of what I call a pout or a whimper. Ah, We tend to get this kind of perfect setup when we kind of whimper or do a pout. Your larynx is not gonna move a whole lot. It's gonna stay pretty centered. It's gonna tilt a little bit, and I'll go more into that a little later. And it's gonna give you some of that back pressure that we talked about when we talked about a straw and pardon me, the hum and the puppy o. So here's what you're gonna do. Just add a little bit of a pout.
Mum 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 mum.
Mhm.
Mum 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 mum.
There you go.
Mum 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 mum.
Good.
Mum 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 mum.
Right.
Mum 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 mum.
Good. So now that's the B right before the high C. So the job will be with these exercises is how stable can we keep that larynx so that by the time you get to B, the sound can stay a little thicker because the larynx is not going to try to raise up on you. And then the vocal cords will be able to actually give you a little bit of more contraction in the positive way. Now,
Okay.
I've changed my terminology when I would say sing without tension. Well, here's the thing muscles don't work without tension, they have to be tensioned
Right.
to work. So I changed it, goes, we want to use the proper tension and don't tense the wrong muscles. Because again, if we say, well, don't tense, you're not going to do anything. Your body would never do anything at all because all muscles
Mhm.
move. You have to tense in order to work. But anywho, um, So here's what I want to try to do. So let's say B flat. We're gonna start right on that note, and if you're just gonna go, let's make it buh as in book. You just go as pouty as you can. Buh, buh, buh.
Buh, 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 buh.
Notice that was a thicker sound than you did
Mm-hmm.
when you got to the mum B.
Yeah.
Because B gave us more resistance. Again, almost
Okay.
like you're going back toward
Like
the
an
upper.
attack, right?
Right.
Buh, buh,
Buh.
buh, 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 buh.
So now instead of mum, we're gonna replace the mum with buh.
Buh, 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 buh. Oh shit. Buh, 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 buh.
Yeah.
Buh, 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 buh.
There you go.
Buh, 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 buh.
So we're gonna reset that bottom note just to make sure that that bottom note has enough buh. So buh, buh, buh.
Buh, buh, buh.
There you go. One more time.
Buh, 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 buh. Buh,
Yeah.
buh, 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 buh. Oh shoot. Buh, 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 buh.
Now that's rough because you're going through two bridges in the
The
at
phrase.
the B flat. I mean the E flat, and then you got another bridge at B flat.
Mm-hmm.
So your voice now is having to go thick, thinner, thinnest, essentially, in
Right.
one octave. Good, but you got the concept. Now, I'm gonna talk about. So now I'm gonna talk about support for a quick minute.
Okay.
Because again, I don't tend to start with it. And the truth is, our body knows how to support us when we make sound. When we're speaking, we do it all the time, and especially if we're doing something that's very exclamatory. So, if, for instance, if you were to take your interlace your fingers and place your hands on your upper belly, kind of right below your sternum, and if you were to say, "Ow,"
Ow.
"Whoa,"
Whoa.
what do you feel happen against your hand?
I feel it come out. I feel my stomach, my diaphragm come out. Whoa. No?
Yeah,
Is that?
yeah. So the upper belly, and here's
Oh.
something that I wish they had said to me when I was in college. But it was years later when I heard a particular teacher in LA talk about this. She said, think of your belly as having two parts. There are two bellies. Upper belly and lower belly would do two different things. And I was like, hot damn, she's right. So now you're going to take two fingers kind of in that solar plexus area and then put one hand around your belly button area. So now if you were to do the same thing, you're going to notice that the bottom behaves differently than the top. Hey, hey, hey.
Hey. Hey. Hey. Yeah.
So the upper belly moves this way, but the lower belly moves inward, which we're more
Inward,
used
right.
to thinking about that part. But what I have found is that when people become more aware of this part, that the upper belly moves outward, we tend not to over push from the bottom. It tends up being more balanced out. So we get a more appropriate amount of air to support our singing. That, ladies and gentlemen, is support. Thank you and good night. That's really mostly what we're talking about when we're supporting. We have to trick our body to do what it knows to do when we're speaking and just kind of bring it along to the singing part. So now let's say we were up here. And so you just walked out the door and you look out and here is a gigantic rogue coronavirus cell running down the street chasing somebody. And so you're calling out to said cell because you're feeling a little brave today. You call out to the COVID-19 cell and you're going, whoa.
Whoa.
Exactly. Our body knows how to do that with just the amount of air that's not going to be overdone
Mm-hmm.
for our vocal folds, more than it can handle. We're just now want to get the body used to that kind of feeling, almost like singing is excited speech.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Good.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Good. So one of the things I like to do when I'm practicing, and I like students to do it, is there are times when I like them to put, either their interlaced fingers in the hands here or the two fingers here and one hand here, just so your body starts getting used to that's what support feels like. And I don't have to tell you to do a doggone thing instead of I don't have to tell you support the sound. I don't have to tell you that. Your muscles now know what it is. They go, oh,
Yeah.
I remember that from when I'm calling out or when I'm sneezing or coughing or laughing or whatever, because it does it automatically when we use our voice just for speech.
Mm-hmm.
Singing is really okay. Some people say it's elongated speech. Some say singing is crying on pitch. I think Pavarotti was the one who used to say that. And that's why Pavarotti could sing in any opera hall in the world and be heard quite well, even though his voice was not as big as like Correras or Placido Domingo. Their voices were larger,
Right.
but his voice, because he had all of that spin, because he was basically singing like he was crying.
Um.
And so that will save you wear and tear on your vocal folds, and you got to sing high notes in a club, and you may not be able to hear that night. And our
Yeah.
tendency is to sing harder when we can't hear.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if we can trust, one of the parts of, and I wish I had learned this part earlier in my singing journey too, is we cannot just trust what we hear, because each of us does not hear our own voice the most accurately,
Okay.
just because of the way it bounces in our head. So we got to get used to what does it feel like when I'm singing it right. That way, when I can't hear myself, I still know that I'm singing correctly because I feel that it is
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
That saves us so much wear and tear on the instrument.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the goal of the exercise. I always tell students, if I give you an exercise and I don't tell you what it's for, you got permission to throw something at my head.
Yeah.
Because it's like you going to a doctor and the doctor goes, here's a prescription. And you're like, what's wrong with me? And they don't tell you anything.
Right.
We should know the reason why we use every exercise that way on a daily basis. When you're not with us,
Mm-hmm.
you know, okay, today I'm feeling like this. I better use this exercise and then this one and this one and this one. That way you're more self-sufficient. But that means singers need to understand the exercises that they're doing,
Right.
why they're doing them.
That is a
When to use
great.
them.
That is great teaching methods, Brian. Where did you learn that? Just go to Vandercook or something?
I've learned
Okay.
a lot of it from.
Okay.
Now, I mean, I did get a lot of great. When I was with Angela, I loved studying with Angela. She was so fantastic. I love her to death. Um, I learned a lot of that from Randy Bisher. That's who I studied with Randy for about 9 years in Chicago. He had studied with a guy by the name of Seth Riggs, and this is a name you're going to hear me mention quite a bit because Seth Riggs is a legend amongst voice teachers. He was Michael Jackson's only teacher. He is Stevie Wonder's teacher. He was Prince's teacher. He was Dinah Ross's teacher, Lionel Richie's teacher. Cher has worked with him. Barbara Streisand has worked with him. He taught Michael Bolton. He taught over 110 Grammy Award winners. And then he taught the teachers who taught Beyonce and Scott Hoying of Pentatonics and all these amazing people. And my teacher happens to have studied with him.
Oh, nice.
That's where I learned a lot of that. Because here's why that approach works so well for me. I started college off as a nursing major, so anatomy physiology is my thing. These exercises made sense because I knew what they affected.
Right. Yep.
Well, hot dog on it.
You had that knowledge, right?
And so that's why I find this is like a really effective way. It's like, wait a minute, because there's no guessing. I don't have to tell a person place it in your mask. If I want it in the mask, I give them something like an NG because it's right there. Then we just take it from an NG to a ah. I don't have to tell them to place it anywhere. If I want them to support, I'll give them a sound that's going to make the body do it. I'm not going to tell them support the sound. Because oftentimes we screw it up.
Right.
Squeeze the wrong set of muscles to try to get it accomplished.
I like that, Earl. I like that you have the whole just how your body works and you apply it to music. That's cool, man. Sorry, I cut you off. Sorry.
No problem.
Yeah.
Because that it's interesting because at the studio I teach at over here in Highland, Indiana, most of my students are over there. You know, from kids through high schoolers or whatever. And that's one of the things we always laugh about was, you know, they call me the voice doctor because I talk about the physiological part. Going, okay,
Right.
well, what other instrumentalist does not understand the mechanics of their instrument? Nobody.
Yep.
Singers are the only ones we've been allowed for way too long not to understand our instrument.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
we're always
agree.
walking through blindly. So it's like,
Yeah.
no, we should be as knowledgeable about our instrument as
Yeah.
every other instrumentalist is.
You're right.
And so that's my big thing. So here's what am I going to do? I'm going to make a recording of the exercises that I showed you today.
Okay.
Because in general, we'll be recording the lessons, you know, every week if we're on either, you know, Skype or Zoom, whichever. So I'll make a recording of all these exercises we did today.
Okay.
I'm also going to include one extra one kind of at the end, just to introduce it to you. And then next week, we're really going to talk about, again, building up both the warm-up regimen and kind of, you know, what's the most effective practice regimen. The science is now telling us that, well, you know, you could split your practice session into 4 15-minute segments a day and it still be as effective if you sat and did it all in 1 hour together.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that actually fits people's schedules and lifestyle a little better nowadays.
A little better.
We're all doing 37 million things.
Right.
So we're going to talk about then how do we structure it then? If we're going to do, let's say, 2 30-minute sessions or 3 20-minute sessions or whatever, how do we do that and make it the most effective and the most efficient?
Okay.
Then I'm going to want you to come up with a list of 3 to 5 songs that you would like to work on. They could either be something, your original stuff, if you write originals, or something that you wanted one song you always wanted to sing. Doggone it, that song is so hard for me, but I've always wanted to sing that song. Because I do believe in making things practical. We want to be able to apply this stuff to actual stuff you may actually have to use.
Yes.
You know, Lord knows I love me some Handel, but me having you singing "On Brought My Food" would be a waste of your time.
Right.
We want to apply it to stuff that is more usable in the real world of music that you do.
Right. Got it.
And again, always, you know, with the thinking that you know, you are an athlete. We're going to talk then about, in the next week or so, I can't talk today. We'll start talking about all those things about maintenance and talking about sleep and water.
Right.
And what is good to eat before you sing, what's not good to eat before you sing. All those things that are part of that package. It's not just about the technique, it's about all the other stuff that supports the technique.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, Earl, you know, since I've been kind of doing vocal exercises and whatnot for about 2-3 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks already, and I also started jogging. Because I know that's an important factor, and it's gonna help me. It's gonna help my mood, and it helps my endurance, and it's great. I feel great, honestly, and I want to keep at it, like you said, like especially now that you told me that you know you have to train. I've been wanting to go to a pool because I know pool is it's a really good exercise, you know, for your lungs and stuff. Yeah, but with the gyms being closed, and I don't want to go in there. You know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of hard. But yeah, that's totally cool. Of course, Earl, there's super excited to keep working with you, and whatever you say, man, you're my coach. You know what, Earl? I actually work in Harville, so I'm really close to you. Yeah, I do. I work there. I mean, I'm there pretty much all week. So I don't know if maybe next. I don't know. Well, yeah, with this whole COVID thing, it's kind of. You said you had a studio in Highland.
I teach at HDS Music, which is a small little, though very busy, crazy little studio in Highland.
Where's that by?
It's not far from Ridge and Indianapolis Boulevard.
Okay.
Ridge Road and Indianapolis Boulevard.
Got it.
But I'm actually not teaching in the building right now. I'm one of the teachers just like, no, I will stay online for now.
Yeah. No, I get it for sure. Okay, cool.
We I was gonna say something else, and my brain today is just like.
Sorry, I cut.
Now, no, Earl, all my students get to know that I have the memory of a gnat.
Hey, so do I. So
Chuck-
so do I. Earl, don't feel bad.
um, um, okay. So I forgot to ask these questions. I always ask these questions the first lesson. Do you have any allergies?
No.
Okay. Have you ever had any issues with acid reflux?
Yes.
Okay. Join the club.
Ah,
And I'll also talk about that because mine has actually been raging up because I know that I've been stress eating. I admit it. So my reflux has been kind of acting up again. Are you currently on any meds for it?
no.
Okay, good. Because there was just another article written about that whole issue that people forget we aren't supposed to stay on those meds for like long term. Because that could really
Okay.
throw our system off.
Right. Yeah.
It's better to deal with behavior modification, that kind of thing, to get it to subside.
Yeah.
So good. So at least we know that. All right. Very cool. Yeah, this is gonna be good. This is good
Yeah,
stuff.
man. I'm excited, Earl. I'm excited. I'm pretty sure you're gonna get a couple calls from our people. We have a great following with the band. I'm gonna send you some stuff. So you can follow us and we can keep in touch, man. But I really appreciate you taking the time and helping me out. I'm really excited to keep working with you and just keep growing, man. I'm thinking about. See, the reason why I'm starting to sing is because our main singer. I play guitar with the band, and the reason why I'm jumping into singing now is because our main singer he's getting out. So I decided it's something I've never done. I played. I played tuba, I played drums, and I played other stuff, and something I've never done and I've never studied, and I really wanna get it. I like I said, I kind of know where to start and what to do and what to look for and stuff. But I wanna study it. I wanna study and I wanna and I had been wanting to take some lessons. And thank you for getting back to me. And I'll see you next week.
Yes,
Man.
indeed.
For sure.
Good stuff. So I'll try to get those exercises out to you by tomorrow.
Okay.
And then if you got any questions, you can just hit me back up if there's any questions about anything.
Cool, Earl.
All right.
Thank you so much, man.
You're welcome. I'll see
Have a good one. Alrighty, Earl.
All right.
Bye bye. I know. Saludos a toda la gente por aquí de YouTube. La gente que también no estabas en la red